legend. When it's on the line, seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Stand the test of time. Seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, believe you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Hold up, are you listening? Focus in, we're looking to make history. Let's go, we know what we've waited for. You ready? Stay ready. Breathe in, ready for the fight. Breathe out, the lights are shining bright. Stand up, stand tall, now is your time. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. When it's on the line, seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Stand the test of time. Seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, believe you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend. Relentless, cold as they come. They ain't seen nothing like us. This legend runs in our blood. We're coming shot from a gun. Can't handle nothing like us. Get ready, our time has come. When it's on the line, seize the moment when the moment's right. Come on, you're in this fight. Don't ever be afraid to be a legend.
Hello, everybody. It's Thursday night. You guys know what time it is, right? It's time for Around the Nation on the Viking Nation Live. I'm your host, LG. Some people call me Larry Godwin. Some people call me LG. I don't care what you call me. Now, honestly, some people call me other things too, but we won't go into that. So with that said, let's go ahead and bring on our other super fan. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing good, Larry. How about you?
I'm cold, man. It was just wet and cold and just miserable and yucky outside today.
Man, I love this weather. This is my weather. This is fat boy weather. Anything over about 70, I get to sweating and
Man, I have this discussion with Bubba Price all the time. Bubba and I, we're in the same industry, so we drive a lot. We go see our customers, and then we'll call each other. We call each other probably a couple times, sometimes up to 2-3 times a day. And we have this discussion / debate all the time. What kind of weather is best, right? He loves this kind of weather like you. You know, he loves the cool air, that kind of stuff. He doesn't mind it. I like spring and summertime. I don't care if it's 98 degrees outside. I love it. I love it. But when it comes to wintertime, my skin gets all cracked and dry and itchy. And it's like, man, I'm just glad I don't live in the Northeast. It'd be even worse.
I'll have to give you my skincare regimen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Listen, man, we're a couple of guys. We can't be seen in public talking about skincare regimen.
Well, we'll do it
crazy?
in private. We'll do it in private.
Okay.
I'll share you my secrets.
Fair enough.
I did get in the truck this morning, kind of early this morning. I had a little nip, and I noticed that my cuticles were a little dry, and I had to put on my cream. So,
well, there you have it, Viking Nation. We're going to spend the next hour talking about cuticle care and skin cream.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We're not. But we do have a pretty good program tonight. Let me go ahead and thank some sponsors while we're talking. Guys, we want to thank our sponsors, our Shade of Perfection. Tim Neesmith does a fantastic job with custom shades and blinds. You can give him a call at the number that you see on the screen, 229-251-3479. Even in late into the evening. Hey, just as every once in a while, it's always a good idea to call Tim Neesmith like at 10:30 at night. So why don't you guys help me pull a prank on Stickman? Just 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. Just give him a call on that number right there on the screen and tell him LG sent you. Billy, he may drop his sponsorship if people did that.
I may do it just because all the trash he talks about me. Jeez.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, listen, speaking of this next guy, the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta, I love these guys. Josh Batson, Justin Haskin. I consider those guys really, really good friends, but they only have one flaw, and you know what they are, what it is,
They're
right?
Gator fans.
They're Gator fans. So this is for them. Read it and weep, boys. Georgia is still the national champions.
Since Florida's won a national championship?
Something like, what is it? Like
13,
14 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Some crazy number.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
You know, I asked another mutual buddy of ours, Nick Kudik, another big Florida Gator fan. And I asked him, okay, is it going to be 40 years before Florida wins its next title? And he says, no, there's no way. He says he gives them about 5-6 years and they'll be on top again. So he's all in on Billy Napier, their new head coach down there. And I think a lot of Florida Gator fans are that way.
Yeah.
And he's starting.
Well,
Napier's starting to make some headway with recruiting. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway,
they've been, you know, they were high on Urban Meyer.
Right.
They were higher. Man,
listen.
Clueless.
Well, since we're talking about not migraines, you know, this extended discussion about the Florida Gators is starting to give me a migraine. So, guys, if you're experiencing a migraine, acute or chronic, give Josh and Justin a call. They have a variety of migraine treatments, whether it's chronic or an acute in nature. They can treat your back pain as well. They also are approved to do nerve conduction studies. You can give them a call at 333-9838. Couple of other sponsors I want to tell you about. White Oak Investment. Kyle Conger does an absolutely fantastic job with helping me plan my retirement planning because, Billy, I'm 51. Retirement is literally right around the corner. So I just want to make sure I got my ducks in a row. Guys, Kyle can help you with that. 229-850-8848. If you need a wireless type of anything, whether it's iPhone, Android phone, accessories, give Matthew a Godwin call at 244-5855, Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. And our newest sponsor is Pepsi. Speaking of Pepsi, you know, guys, I don't know if you like Pepsi, Pepsi Zero, Mountain Dew Zero. They always do a fantastic job. And check out this latest display they've got going on in Winn-Dixie. So now some of you I know are just about all of you are conditioned by now. And you would normally see me post this on the screen. To type in hashtag #OneLounge into the comments to enter a Winn-Dixie drawing at the end of the show in order to get, I guess, enter for your chance to win the Stuff the Bucket wings and do it. Don't do that tonight. We are putting the drawing on hold, guys, basically to revamp it, right? We have done that Stuff the Bucket drawing for a year. Winn-Dixie is starting to pull back on those types of giveaways. So I've been thinking about it for a while anyway, and we're probably going to revamp that giveaway. We're going to come up with some other stuff. So we're not going to do a giveaway probably for the next 3 weeks, something like that, to give us a chance to wrap our minds around what we want to do for a giveaway.
I blame it on Michelle Carter. She finally won it.
She finally won it. What in the world, man? Did you guys like stuff the bucket to the point where Winn-Dixie just went bankrupt? What in the world?
I don't know. All I know is she came over to the house. She had T-shirts, and none of them were in my size. Imagine that.
My gosh.
And a bucket full of chicken that, hey, we did put a hurting on it. I will say that.
So what was your favorite flavor?
Oh, it's always going to be head-to-head race between buffalo and teriyaki.
Gotcha. I love the buffalo. Teriyaki's not my favorite. My kids love the teriyaki. When my kids were young, they would call it, we would go to Zaxby's and get the teriyaki chicken, and they would call it sticky chicken. Yeah. And so when they were like 3-4 years old, we'd go to Zaxby's. Daddy, can we get sticky chicken? And I knew exactly what they were talking about.
There's a restaurant in town I eat at quite a bit, and they have Asian sticky ribs, and it's kind of a cross between the teriyaki and all. So, hey, it kind of goes together. Sticky
gotcha.
Chicken.
So, guys, this is the kind of quality programming that you get when you tune into Around the Nation. So far, we've talked about cuticle skincare and Asian sticky chicken. And T-shirts that don't fit. So, guys, as I said, we're not doing the giveaway tonight. Just simply, I think I explained it to you, that we've been thinking about revamping that for a while. We're going to try to come up with something that I think everybody can get around, get behind. It might be a continuation of our T-shirts because we still have plenty of those giveaway. I know Stickman wants to do a T-shirt giveaway for his business as well, so we're definitely obligated and committed to do that. But we're trying to come up with some other stuff as well. So just stay tuned. Okay. Until then, just tune in and enjoy the show, and don't worry about the drawing for now. It's coming back, but just not yet. Okay.
Hey,
so,
Tim, I wear a 2X. Just remember, I wear a 2X.
Hey, speaking of Tim, check this out. I knew someone was going to bring this up. Sick Man says, there's the Asian joke. I don't think he did it on purpose, Tim. But listen, my mom's watching now. She put in one Lowndes, and I bet you she was thinking about that. Billy's like, I wonder if he just took a jab at us on purpose. I don't know. But I don't think it was a jab. Uh-oh, you went silent on me. He must have muted your line or something. Well, I'll continue talking while you work on that. So, guys, let me go ahead and talk about a couple of other things. The first thing is Lowndes Wrestling. This is kind of snuck up on us, the end of the dual season. And wrestling is kind of a different type of sport. It's made up of two different seasons. One is like almost a team format competition where they call it duels. And then I think the second part of the season that's coming up soon is like the individual season. I don't quite understand it because I'm like, Billy, you okay, man? So I think he's going to try to reconnect. But anyway, look at it on the screen. Lowndes is in the final 8 because the team dual wrestling championship being held at Lambert High School is this weekend, January 22nd. Lowndes is going to go up against North Forsyth. Look, you got 4. Is that 4? Yeah. No, 1. You got 3 Region 1 7A teams in the final 8 of the team dual wrestling state championship, right? You got Camden County taking on Lambert. You got Colquitt County taking on Mill Creek, and Lowndes taking on North Forsyth. That is going to be fun. You know, hats off to that Lowndes wrestling program, because the last several years, they have been really, really making a name for themselves. So anyway, good luck to the Lowndes wrestling team. A couple other things. Spring sports. Can you guys believe that we are talking about spring sports already, Billy? I mean, it is literally right around the corner. Tryouts, I believe, were like 3 days ago for baseball. Their first baseball game is February 18th versus Stars Mill in Fayetteville. It is literally right around the corner. And so I think that's going to have a revamped look as well this year. You know, the baseball field was returfed.
It looks so good.
Oh my gosh, man. It looks great. It looks great. The Viking Voice broadcast team that broadcasts the region games, I believe they're going to focus on region games this year, is going to be revamped as well, with Pat Hill doing the play-by-play. I can't remember. And Lance Harrell, I believe, is going to be his counterpart on that broadcast. So that team is being revamped. So it's going to be a whole new look for Lowndes baseball.
Lance and I play baseball together.
You know, I got a chance to listen to Pat Hill do the play-by-play when Lowndes made that deep run in the playoffs. I think they make it to the state championship series last year, right? Semifinals. That's right, against Parkview. Parkview had a loaded team. But anyway, Pat did a fantastic job of doing play-by-play for the baseball team. So he returns, and he's going to have a new counterpart, Lance Harrell, and I'm looking forward to listening to those guys. The soccer team, both boys and girls, is well underway. Their first game is just a couple of weeks away, February 4th against Cook County in Adel. So good luck to the baseball and the soccer team. Couple other things. The spring sports bass fishing team, the Lowndes bass fishing team, is getting kicked off this year. It's getting underway. 10 kids are competing in their first qualifying tournament over at Lake Seminole. Billy, do you know when that is? Is that coming up?
I think they're leaving on.
Are they leaving today?
To go today.
Yeah. I think that's right. So I think Lance Ekdahl is their coach, right?
Yes, that's right. We've had him on the show before.
That's right. I'm going to reach out to Coach Ekdahl and try to have him back on the show just to remind us about what they do with, because I think the bass fishing team is a brand new endeavor for Lowndes Athletics.
Yeah, and they don't do a lot of tournaments. I want to say last year they did 2 qualifying tournaments in the state. So there's not very many events for them yet, but it's growing. And I think last year we only had like 2 or 4 kids that 2 to 4 kids that even did the bigger tournaments, and then now you're sending 10 kids, so it's growing.
Right. Tim Neesmith said, he reminds us, he says it's never too early to talk about the football team clay shoot that's coming up on February 26th at 9 a.m. apparently at Southwind. So as we get closer to that, I'll remind you about that more or close. Yeah, the closer we get, I'll remind you about that. Again.
For Tim to be as aggravating as he has a wealth of knowledge.
He really is. I mean, he is plugged in, isn't he? He is very plugged in.
He should come back on the show sometime.
Absolutely. Speaking of sports that's going on, Lowndes basketball is having a tremendous season, Billy. We've got Coach Reshon Benjamin calling in at 7:30 tonight to give us an update on the Lowndes boys basketball team. And they are having a really, really good season. The boys are off to a 12-2 start. Their last game, they defeated – no, I'm sorry. Their first region game against Tift County, they defeated the Blue Devils. Their next region game is I don't know why I put 114. That's not 114. It's actually 121. I messed up on the date. It's actually tomorrow night. Okay. Their next region game is tomorrow night against Colquitt County and not Camden. So I totally blew that one, guys. Sorry about that. And the girls game, the girls are on, they have a 12-4 record. They've got a 3-game winning streak. Their next region game is tomorrow night versus Colquitt County. So anyway, get out and support these kids.
Yeah, and I think the 9th grade girls only lost 1 game. I think their season ended earlier this week. They wound up only losing 1 game. So they had a great year.
Yeah. Well. I'm expecting Lowndes to do well against Colquitt County tomorrow night. The boys, Colquitt County team, they're not having their best year. They're 4-10 on the year. Lowndes, on the other hand, is 12-2. But I'm anxious to ask Coach Benjamin about the last 3 games. They're on they're on like a 5-game winning streak. Now, a couple of those games, Billy, were against Thomasville boys team. And in the first one last week, they beat Thomasville 55-54. And then last night, they beat Thomasville again 49-47. So wow. 2 very, very close games decided by 3 points between the 2 of them.
And, to beat Tift County in basketball is a big deal. So, deal. They must have a great team.
So they're scoring and they're playing really, really good defense. I've heard that the hallmark to their team this year is defense. So we're going to ask Coach Benjamin about that tonight. Is it defense or offense, or maybe a little bit of both? So anyway, can't wait to talk to him about 7:30 about that. Billy, we got to talk football before Coach Benjamin calls in. We're going to talk about this topic, and then I'm sure we're going to talk to Coach Benjamin, and then when Coach Benjamin hangs up, we're going to talk about this topic some more, right? And that's this, guys. The first football topic is we heard the news that came out a couple of days ago. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember.
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday.
I heard.
The Lowndes defensive coordinator, Mark Hurt, has accepted a head coaching job at Pike County High School in Alabama. So he's returning to Alabama.
What is this? There was a shift. All these Alabama coaches coming to Georgia. Now it seems like we're losing them all back to Alabama. So
yeah, I think it's a back and forth. I don't think it's one versus the other. I think it's just a true back and forth. So I don't know. They're so
football.
Close.
Two best states for football right now seem to be Alabama and Georgia, college wise. So it's kind of fitting that it's that way in high school too. So
that's right. So let's talk about this. I think we saw this writing on the wall after the end of the season. Now, I don't want to leave the audience with the impression that anyone got rid of Mark Hurt. I don't think that was the case at all. I think he took advantage of an opportunity to become a head coach again. And it just basically aligned up with what the fans, I think it's safe to say that a lot of Lowndes fans wanted a different direction for the defensive unit. Would that be a reasonable statement?
Yes and no. You know,
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I thought in a lot of instances, Coach Hurt did a great job. I really do feel that way. I think basically you hit the nail on the head. I think it was just an opportunity to go back home.
That's right.
Or his home state, you know, and you know, we all want to be around family. We all want to be, you know, where we grew up. Not necessarily, he didn't necessarily grow up in Pike County, but I think you always take that head coaching job when it's offered. If you're a you know, a coordinator or a line coach, I think human nature says that you take that job. So I think he just took the opportunity to go. You know, I actually am going to kind of miss him a little bit, but
Sure.
I wish him the best. And you know, if this brings us to a different direction, you know, then I'm going to embrace that too.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant when I said, you know, he took advantage of the opportunity that was in front of him, but at the same time, that opportunity lined up with, I think, what Lowndes needed. And personally, what happened to your screen? There we go. Personally speaking, man, I think this change was needed. I think this is the proper move. The Lowndes defensive unit, I think, needed to go in a different direction, just based on the last 2 years' body of work. And I'm sure we're going to get Billy back on the screen pretty soon. So, but we got to keep in mind that when an opportunity presents itself to any assistant and they have ambitions of becoming a head coach, you still have to honor. You still got to be. What's that old saying? To thyself be true. Right. So if you are an assistant, hey, Tim Neesmith, that was a little bit of poetry just for you, man, because you just need to culture up a little bit. I'm just saying, man, to thyself be true, which means that if you've got, as an assistant coach, if you've got some ambition of becoming a head coach and the opportunity presents itself, you gotta jump for it, don't you? Don't you have to jump for the opportunity? Just in the last, what, 2 years? Yeah, a little over 2 years. We've had 3 now Lowndes assistant coaches go on to become head coaches, Billy. Tommy Watson is now the head coach at Lambert, and he is turning that program around. I remember when Tommy Watson announced that he was taking the head coaching job at Lambert, I went, and like a lot of people did, I went to Max Preps and looked at the record. The year before he got there, they were 0-10. 0-10. And so Tommy has completely turned that program around, and they're not where he wants them to be, but they're a respectable program, winning I believe 6 and 7 games a year, something like that. Right. So, and that's a far cry from being 0-10. The other Lowndes assistant is Bayern Slack. First, he went up to Hillgrove, spent a year up there. I don't know what happened. I guess decided that wasn't the place for him. Came back to South Georgia, became a defensive assistant at Colquitt County, another head coaching opportunity, which I think is a great opportunity for him in Cook County in Adel. So he jumps at that position. And so now we have Mark Hurt going back. Mark Hurt was a head coach in Alabama before he came over to Lowndes. I think he was a head coach. I can't remember what school, but then joined the Jamie DuBose staff at Central Phoenix City, and then came over with Jamie.
And so that's what happens to a lot of good programs is all their assistants get cherry picked. I mean, by other schools, and you know that says a lot about our program that other schools won't our coaches. You know,
that's right. Exactly right. So now, I don't think it was any secret what kind of defensive scheme that you wanted to run during the last couple of years, right?
You don't think I hid my thoughts on that at all?
I thought you were very subtle in how you presented it. No, it was very clear that you did not like the 3-man front that we ran. Well, I don't know if I think I've asked you that while we were having lunch and that kind of stuff. I don't know if I've ever asked you that on air. Why didn't you like the 3-man front?
I just think you leave too much space for anybody to run through. I mean, there's gaps there.
Yeah.
And the fewer guys you have on that line, the wider those gaps are.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty big old boy, and some of them gaps I could have ran through. Just
now
saying.
some would argue with you or make this counterpoint, and like I have in the past, that a 3-man front is really not a 3-man front 100% of the time. It's a very versatile front that allows you to bring outside linebackers up into a 4-man front, a 5-man front. What don't you like about that?
Well, let's just say that you are pulling linebackers up like it is designed to do.
Yeah.
That linebacker, I don't care how good he is, and he would have to be really good and time it just right to where he is at the line before I get to the line. Yeah. So I've already penetrated that hole and attempting to reach the next level before he has a chance to make contact. Because if I'm a good running back, not the 250-pound beast I am now, but if a good running back that's shifty, maybe a little powerful, he gets a head start. He's tough to bring down, and a guy that's having to close that distance, I just don't like it. I just don't think it works.
Yeah.
And you get a running back with a head of steam, he's hard to bring down. So I don't like to let him get to that level from a defensive side of the ball. 4-man fronts, you tighten those gaps up a little bit. You still leave a linebacker there to pull up or drop back in coverage. To me, it just makes sense. Georgia Bulldogs don't run a 3-man front. They have the best linebackers in the business. Nakobe Dean is the best, or was the best, linebacker in college football, and they didn't even run a 3-man front. So even with Jordan Davis taking up the whole A gap down there,
Well, that's where I disagree with you. Georgia was one of those teams, and many college teams, they will switch in and out of a 3-man versus a 4-man front. Because sometimes you would have Jordan Davis line up straight as a nose tackle. Then you would have him line up over the guard in a 4-man front.
But with that being said, Larry, they know their assignments.
Yeah.
They understand it. And I'm not saying that our kids don't, but it gets a little complicated when you're trying to take a 16-year-old young man and he's got to figure out whether he's supposed to drop back, he's supposed to spy on the quarterback, or he's got to pull up and hit pull up to the line, or blitz. A lot of times it gets – I think if we just simplify things, we'd be a lot better. We got too many moving parts with a 3-man front. I
agree with you on that point. Here's the biggest difference to me with someone like a Jordan Davis and a 3-man front that they run in college a lot of times, in the NFL a lot of times, versus high school. It's body size.
It's body size.
Body size.
Body size.
You got to have a big horse that anchors that nose position to run a successful 3-man front.
A lot of times he's having to block 2 guys.
Yeah. I mean, he takes double teams a lot.
Now, Mike Fletcher, who, after my comment last week, he got on and he says what we have coming up, are some big guys. I mean, no, they're not Jordan Davis, but we're also talking about 14, 15-year-olds. But those are big kids for high school. So maybe, possibly, if you have some of those larger kids, maybe you can do some of that. I'm not a fan. I think teams like Camden, the 3-man front will never work. You're going to have to play a 4 or 5-man front. You got to get as many guys in the box and on the line that you can have against that, because they're just going to pound and pound and pound and pound and lull you to sleep, pound and pound and pound and pound and eat clock. So that's how teams beat Lowndes. Once they figured out how to beat us, that's what teams would do to Lowndes when we were a wing T school.
Sure.
They would stack the box. They'd put every man on the line and basically dare you to beat them with a pass.
Right.
And if you're not a, comparable passing team, you're not going to beat them.
That's right. Absolutely. So, speaking of Camden, this is going to be their second year with Jeff Herron back in the region running that wing T. But did you know that their defensive scheme of choice is a 3-3 stack? So three defensive linemen and 3 stud linebackers, because they usually have the horses on the defensive line to run it.
Okay. As a rule, Camden is big on defensive line. I remember one time Camden had a kid that weighed 420 pounds on their defensive line.
How in the world?
They had to order him special pads and a special jersey.
Yeah.
His dad was in the Navy, and it was kind of comical how big this young man was. It wasn't that many years ago. I don't know, 15 years ago, probably. But here's the thing: they're not playing against wing T teams.
Sure, I agree. I get you, man. I get you. So anyway,
and we don't see it that often.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying play a 5-man front or bear front, whatever you want to call it, all the time, because you're not going to see a wing T. It's rare nowadays.
Right.
I'm just saying, against a running team, we need to put more men on the line. Now, Collins Hill, I agree with a 3-man front. Of course, I don't know how you can stop a team like Collins Hill this year. I didn't have an answer for them. But against a passing team that's predominantly passing team, yeah, 3-man front works. But you rarely see that type of team in high school football. You'll see some balanced schools, that do a little bit of both. So you may come in and out of a 3 occasionally, but 4-man is the way to go, except when you're playing against a wing T team. Then you go 5.
Yeah. I was just looking down at my phone just to check. Just had to send a text to Coach Benjamin. I don't know if he just got tied up with practice or what, but we expected him to call in. I hope nothing happened. But anyway, while we're waiting on Coach Benjamin to call in, let me change shift the conversation a little bit. We're still talking about the defensive coordinator position. So now that we have a vacant spot, here he is right here. So now that we have a vacant spot, Billy, when we come back from our conversation with Coach Reshon Benjamin, I'm going to ask you point blank. So you be thinking about this. Okay. Who does Lowndes hire as the new defensive coordinator? And in this upcoming season, what kind of production do you expect from that defensive unit? All right, let's go with that. Let's go to the phone line. Let's go to the phone line and welcome in Coach Reshon Benjamin. Coach, do we have you?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Coach, I'm doing great. But listen, I think the more important issue is more important question is, Coach, how great do you feel right now as the head coach of a 12-2 Lowndes boys basketball team?
I feel pretty good.
I bet.
You never want to get in a space where you're overly confident.
Right.
So I'm a bit paranoid and try to find things wrong that I know we need to work on. But it does feel really good because this is the first time that I believe Lowndes has been in this position in a long time. So
yeah,
it's a testament to how hard the guys have worked for sure.
I'm going to go back before you join us again in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try to go back and look at the record history of Lowndes and where we stand now versus where we've been. I think you're right. It's been a long, long time since we've had this kind of record after 14 games.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The last really good team that I could remember was that 2014-2015 team.
Yep.
I think they made it to the Sweet 16, and they had guys like Octavius Fudge and Big Alex. They won a playoff game home that year too. I remember they were pretty good. They finished up second in the region that year. So, we're just trying to make history this year, man, and I believe we can do it.
Well, Coach, you're well on the way of doing that. I mean, there's still plenty of basketball left. Like you said, we don't want to be overconfident because there's still plenty of teams out there that are hungry that can beat us if we're not on our A game. So, with that said, I got to ask you though, what's the difference? I mean, why is this team surging now versus maybe 5 years ago? I mean, is there something different about the makeup of this team, the chemistry, the coaching staff you've put together? What is it about this Lowndes team that you got them going in the right direction?
Yeah, I believe it's these guys are more of a family than a basketball team. It usually takes a special type of togetherness to be a really good team. And, this class of guys, they're really close. They don't mind holding each other accountable.
Right.
The guys seem to know their roles. And, they're just in a space right now where they've almost become addicted to winning.
Oh, that's good.
So it's kind of like, they're starting to do, winning is characteristic, just like losing it.
Sure.
And it becomes, certain things become habitual. Like you start to develop patterns and habits. And I think these guys have gotten addicted to it. They love how it feels to go into the locker room and knowing that you did everything you could to win the game. And so to experience that feeling on more of a consistent basis, they're doing whatever it takes.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about doing whatever it takes. One of our viewers on the show tonight, Wilbur Pelfrey, he makes this comment on our comment line. He says that he watched the game last night against Thomasville on the NFHS network, and it was a barn burner, according to Wilbur. He says, you guys won by 2. And Coach, I got to go back. I got to ask you, going back over the last couple of games, this is the second time you've played Thomasville in a week, and both of those games have been tight. Do they just have an outstanding basketball team? You guys played a little down to their level. What happened in those couple of games?
Well, Thomasville has a very rich basketball tradition. They have, I think they won a state championship back in 2018. Okay. They have a young man who's actually in the NBA right now, who was on that 2018 team.
Wow.
So basketball is a very, very prominent sport over there. And you walk into the gym and you see all the accolades from, the coach and how he's won over 300 games and the state championships and the kid that's in the NBA. So real quick, like, okay, this is going to be a team who's not going to lay down easy. So to answer your question, yes, they have a really good team. They have a couple of guys who are just really, really tough to deal with. And they have a very, very good coach and coaching staff as well. Much credit to them. They made it tough for us both games. So the game last week, we won by 1, I believe, 55-54.
That's right.
And Aaron Williams got a steal right there with about 20 seconds left. Laid it up. We went up 1 and closed it out. Last night, it was a heavyweight bout, to say the least. I think there was a stretch right there late in the third quarter where there were 6 buckets traded back and forth between the two teams.
Wow.
I think we hit a 3, they hit a 3. We hit a mid-range jump shot, they'd hit a layup. We hit another 3, they'd hit another 3. And, of course, the crowd was all into it. It had a playoff feel to it. But to end the game, score was tied 47-47. The freshman kid I've been telling you about, Samuel Shoptaw.
Yeah.
So he gets the ball with 20 seconds left, and he looks over at the sideline, and I look back, and we spaced the floor out to give him room, and he took his man one-on-one and got a layup, scored with about 12 seconds left to go up, and we put the game away.
Wow. And you guys held on for the win.
And we held on for the win. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you've been talking about this freshman all year long. He's played in all 14 games. He's averaging about 7 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you just see the sky's the limit for this kid's future, right?
But yes, between us and whoever's listening, I believe Samuel Shoptaw is probably going to wind up being the best basketball player to ever come through Lowndes High School.
Gotcha.
Whoa.
Right now.
Wow. That's a big statement, Coach.
Yeah, I believe that. I do. He's about 6'2". He has a good frame. He's very mature, not just on the court, but just how he carries himself. He's very mature, and he doesn't get rattled. He does a lot of the college coaches I talk to. My main thing concerning him is I tell them he's full of the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's got leadership capabilities. He's a great communicator. He models what he expects by being the hardest worker. I may get a text here in a couple of minutes, him asking, can he come in and get extra shots up at 6:30 in the morning? That's the kind of kid he is. So with those things being said, his skill set, the intangibles of his size and his makeup, and then his work ethic, there aren't many kids that come across a program like that who have all those things combined.
Wow.
And so for him, this is why with full confidence I can say he's probably going to be the best. I think he's averaging 7, but at any given night, he could score 12 to 15 to 20 points. So,
well, Coach,
that good.
I remember last year after the season was over, I met you up at the high school and you gave me a shirt. Remember that? And on that shirt, I believe it said grit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's a coincidence that when you have that as a slogan or basically a motto for the team, and then they go up against some really, really good teams like Thomasville, that, like you said, it's got that tradition rich of playing really good brand of basketball, and they get in a close, basically a shootout, not a shootout, but a close, grinded out kind of game, and they find a way to. Is that the grit that you're talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that grit is an acronym, and each word just basically stands for something.
Okay.
So the G is for that grind, that grinded out mentality.
Yeah. The
R is being relentless. The I having intensity, and T just being tough.
Wow.
So in close games like that, see, at this point of the season, Mr. Godwin, you want to be in a position where you're playing playoff basketball.
Yeah.
And my message to the team is always, the higher you go, the air gets thinner.
Mm-hmm.
When you start playing better teams and you start playing these teams that really have meaning behind them, like these region games and eventually trying to play for a region title, the air gets thinner. Meaning you can't make many mistakes. You have to pay attention to detail, and then the little things will get you over the hump, like making free throws or executing late down the stretch. So you have to be tough, you have to be relentless, you have to be intense, and then you have to have a grind-like mentality. So that's what we wanted to adopt in the offseason, and I think we've done that. And as you said in your opening comments, there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and I still believe we can be even better as we start preparing to play playoff basketball.
Hey, Coach, I want to go back to something you said when we first started talking. You mentioned how close this team was, that they're more like family. What do you contribute to that to? A lot of times it's kids just growing up together, but sometimes, that coach has a way of bringing them together, whether it be, you got little side activities for them to bring them together. I don't know what your situation is. Kind of tell us what you contribute to their closeness to, because, a lot of times it's kind of hard to get kids that are from different areas or played at different middle schools to kind of come together and work together and get that. What do you contribute it to?
That's a great question. And I believe that's probably one of the hardest jobs as a coach. Sometimes you're not just coaching the kids' physical ability. You're dealing with emotions. You're dealing with difference of background, difference of personality. So one thing we try to do, we have a lot of team functions. And there's some times where we have team functions that are not even basketball related. Yeah. The guys have come to my house, my wife and my assistant coaches, we've cooked for them. We sit down, we talk with them, and we let them be kids. And I think that's a major part of why these guys have become so close. It's just an added bonus that they actually do like each other. But in addition to that, there are some things we try to do. We try to sit down and hopefully, like once a month, we'll sit down and try to have dinner together. There may be a practice where we'll get finished and order a couple of boxes of pizza and, hey, let's just sit down and eat and talk. Food has a way of making people comfortable and vulnerable.
Yeah, I was
And,
thinking. I
when you
was
sit
thinking
down,
of inviting myself over to one of those family functions myself. When you start talking about grilling out at the house, I can be
yeah,
family
come
too.
on,
Coach,
come on. We won't turn down any strangers. Come on, we'll spread the love for sure.
Coach, listen, I'm going to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer this right now, but it's a special favor. So Billy and I are going to need a couple of basketball passes so we can start doing a better job of covering your program. So can you hook us up?
Y'all come on out. We'll take care of it.
There we go, Bill. We got an open invitation.
Come on. Anything it'll take to get you guys in the gym. Just come on out. We got you.
Well,
Coach,
guys,
I think I told you before. I'm not a basketball guy. Nothing about me says basketball except for the shape I am. But you know, I love sports. I love the team aspect of all sports. And that's kind of why I asked you that question, because it don't matter what sport you seem to be playing, team sport wise, that you seem to that you can play. It seems like the closer knit
Yes.
to a team is, the better. To quote Kirby Smart last week, he said, at the national championship celebration, he said, "My team knows that 1 + 1 = 3." And basically what he was saying is we're greater together than the sum of our parts. And, that's deep, but it's true. No matter what sport you play, you got to play as a team. And if you have that bond that your team seems to have, you're going to be better.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Totally. And in addition to what you're saying, it's almost like, when you take a basketball game and break it down, for example, if we're on defense and I see not just my teammate, but that's my brother.
Yeah.
My brother gets beat on defense, I'm going to take more onus to step up and play help side and try to stop the man, as opposed to that's just the guy I play basketball with. Because it means more when you hold value to who you're playing with. And so I believe these guys have done it. And I think that there was a special bond that you can see take place in the summer.
Yeah.
And this is the importance of going to summer camp and getting on the road and staying in the hotels and going out to eat. There's a bonding process that takes place, and we could see it in the summertime. And when we went to Florida State and when we went up to Atlanta, there were some teams that we beat, some tough teams that we beat. And I kind of got to scratching my head like, fellas, this could be a precursor to what we do during the season. And so nobody's surprised about the success we have. My message is you haven't done it until you've done it. So right now we're 12-2, but still the region championship is hanging in the balance, and making a state playoff run is still hanging in the balance too. So those are the ultimate goals.
That's right.
That we know we're going after.
Well, Coach, before we let you go, I want to make sure that I give you this compliment in front of our Viking Nation tonight. And listen, I hope you hear me loud and clear when I say this to our audience out here. Guys, this is what coaches mean. Some coaches mean it and some just pay it lip service. But this is what coaches mean when they say, especially in high school and youth ball, that winning is great, but we want to do more than winning. We want to teach these young people how to become better adults, better citizens, that kind of stuff. So I'm glad you went out of your way to explain to us what grit meant for you. It's an acronym, and you laid it out eloquently. So we appreciate what you do for our student athletes out there. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. It's always good to come speak with you guys on here on Thursdays. And listen, when you guys want to come to the game, give me a call. We'll get you in.
Yes, sir. We're going to hit you up. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you,
Have
man.
a good night. Go Vikings. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Go Vikings.
Man, he's becoming a fun interview.
Yeah.
I think he's getting more comfortable with us.
Yeah, and honestly, as good fans, and we harp on everybody, going out and supporting the team, and then I sit here and I don't go watch basketball.
Right.
I don't support our basketball team. So let's do that. When do they play again? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow night. I can't make it tomorrow night.
Well,
we're
just have to show up.
We're gonna pick a date, and the Viking Nation is gonna show up in force. So Anyway, tomorrow night, I think it's actually an away game over in
It's
Moultrie. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like to go
So anyway, yeah, that is becoming a fun interview, and I'm hoping our fans really start to understand and get behind the basketball. Because let's be honest, man, Lowndes has been forever known as a football school first, and then maybe the baseball school, and then the band school, and basketball is usually overlooked.
Well, see, that used to not be the case.
I know, yeah.
We used to be a basketball school and only a basketball school.
Well, the girls' basketball team in particular had a couple of national championships, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So that wasn't too long ago, but anyway, it's kind of morphed, and we want to. That's why we do this show, Billy, year round, is to bring more attention to some of these other programs that kind of get overlooked during the year. So anyway, let's talking about that major source. We kind of ended the discussion a while ago before Coach Benjamin came on. We were talking about the Lowndes position or the Lowndes vacancy of defensive coordinator. So the rumor is, and everyone is talking about this. So y'all don't say LG said this guy is going to be our defense coordinator. Everybody is talking about this. And, even Chris Beckham made this announcement on his show the other night that Ashley Anders is joining the Lowndes defensive staff. He did not say in what kind of capacity. Kenneth Hurst says Rodemaker to Lowndes. Kenneth, I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's true, but I don't know for sure. I have heard the name Ashley Anders. That was reported by Chris Beckham the other night on his Monday night show. He hasn't been, I don't think he's been officially voted in by the Board of Education, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that's the hot name right now.
And it would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
because he's a defensive guy.
He's a defensive guy.
A really decorated defensive guy.
A really good defensive guy. And I think it would be a good fit. And it kind of makes sense, Larry. We got a defensive position. He's a defensive guy.
Yeah. Well, we're
Chris
just
Beckham seems to think he might be getting the nod. So what position, if we were hiring him, what position will we hire him for if not a defensive coordinator?
We're just connecting the dots, right? Lowndes has a vacancy at the DC position. Ashley Anders apparently is headed towards Lowndes. He's a former DC. So people are just connecting the dots. It would make sense to me if that's where he landed. So anyway, we'll see, man. I'm kind of excited about the idea of Anders. Now, on the flip side, the other rumor that we're hearing is Rodemaker is potentially coming to Lowndes, and I wouldn't mind that either because he's a defensive-minded coach.
Oh, he's a great defensive coach.
And he loves your four-man front.
And he does love my four-man front. Hey, maybe he's got my vote. But I do. I like both those choices. If I was, shopping, both those would be on my wish list.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do like Moultrie does and have that, or did, and have that like 7 ex-head coaches as defensive coordinators.
That's right.
It didn't work over there. Maybe it'd work here.
Wilbur reminds us, he says, one strong rumor is Rodemaker heard he lives in Hayhire. I was told today. That's not a rumor.
That's not a rumor.
That is true. That is true.
He does live in Hayhire.
Yeah. I mean, that's been for several months now. And that was put out there by, I believe, Leah Rodemaker announced that on Facebook several months ago. They were moving back to Hayhire. Franklin Webb says, what about Coach Quinn as defensive coordinator? Franklin, you may be right. I don't know. Maybe he makes a move over to the DC position and Ashley Anders takes over another position coach deal there at Lowndes. So we don't know what Coach DuBose is thinking here, but what we've heard, what Chris Beckham put out there was that Ashley Anders is going to join the Lowndes staff. We don't know.
I have no inside track, so I'm not keeping anything secret that I know some secret. I'm not an insider by no means. Larry's more of an insider than I am. So
I don't know if insider is the right definition, but I might be an outcast. my official title might be the acceptable outcast. Something like
After my little comment last week, I might not even be. I don't know. They might throw rotten tomatoes at me at the game next game.
Wilbur's a comedian. He says LG's head looks like a basketball. Wilbur, you might be right. I have been accused of having a giant head, right? That's because I got a big brain, dude. No, I'm kidding. So, what about Terry Quinn? It's a possibility. We just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I expect the decision will probably be made by the next board meeting, and the next scheduled board meeting is in what, a couple of weeks?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Two and a half weeks. Yeah, something like that.
So we'll see. I don't see them calling a special called board meeting just to hire a DC.
No,
I just don't see them doing that, especially when spring ball.
When it's not
here
we're not doing anything anyway. It's just kind of dead time.
Yeah, Franklin says he's just throwing it out. We get it, man. That's one of the cool things about being a fan is we get to talk about this stuff. Sometimes we throw out some good stuff. Sometimes,
and see, I don't know as a DC what kind of system Quinn would run. I personally like him as a linebackers coach myself.
I do too. Now, if I had to
I think he's coaching the DBs right now, but I personally think he's suited for a linebackers coach just because kind of that's him. He was a linebacker.
Yeah. Honestly, when it comes to I'm just going to put it out there. When it comes to the existing staff on the defensive side, I think they would benefit by kind of reshuffling the deck, just moving some guys around, give them experience in different positions, especially when it comes to DBs, because I think we can.
And maybe a fresh set of fresh eyes sometimes maybe will kind of maybe shuffle things up, maybe let them see something that maybe they're missing.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that it's necessary. Our defensive stand last year was because of scheme or
no, it was probably a combination. It was a combination of scheme, I think, and it was a not complicated, but a complex defensive scheme, plus a bunch of young guys.
And I think that has more to do with it than anything. So guys, don't think I'm throwing the coaches under the bus. I'll let you know when I throw one of the coaches under the bus. I'll just come right out and back over him a couple of times. But
what do you keep doing? You keep touching your screen or something? What in the world, man? Hey, while Billy's doing that, while Billy is doing that, guys, I want to talk about just briefly touch on this Kirby Smart helicopter tour all around South Georgia. We saw all the pictures and videos on Facebook yesterday. I guess he had flown into Lee County by helicopter, and then he went to I don't know if this is the right order, but these are the pictures that I saw in video. Then he was over at Colquitt County, flew in on his helicopter, then flew in on his helicopter, Billy, to Lowndes, and then
I'm having technical difficulties tonight.
That's okay. Hey, listen, you're a newly engaged man, so you sometimes you got a lot of stuff rattling around up there.
No, me and you need to work on something. We need to change how we do some things, and we'll talk about it on the off show.
Gotcha.
But I kind of came in on the tail end of that. Y'all must have been talking about my coach flying in on his helicopter while I was out.
Your national champion
Yes.
coach, right?
Yes.
Now,
how long has it been since Florida has won one?
13 plus years.
Yeah. How long has it been since Georgia's won one? 11, 12 days?
11, 12 days, week and a half, something like that. That never gets old, does it?
That never gets old. It's almost nothing. Never mind.
Yep.
Never mind.
I heard that the latest Georgia national championship T-shirt went on sale today at the price of $33.18. Boom, boom.
Yep. We got sound effects.
We got sound effects, man. We got sound.
Hey, Michael Broadmoor was talking about how many times he watched the Keely Ringo pick six.
Absolutely.
And I said, yeah, I've watched it somewhere between 18 and 33 times.
Now that was funny. I saw that. That was funny. So check this out. So this is just a Kirby Smart taking his helicopter tour. Now this was actually old video. This was a video of him up at Milton High School last year. So this is not something that new that he does. He listen, a guy like, there is a reason why Georgia, Billy, leads the nation as far as recruiting budget goes. We got to work on your technical issues, man. So, guys, there is a reason why Georgia leads the country in recruiting budget. I think they spent, I want to say $3.7 million annually on their recruiting, and it eclipses the closest team by far. I think Alabama is next, like with $3 million annual recruiting budget. So part of that recruiting budget is flying around these fancy helicopters. I mean, Bill, I don't know if you remember last fall when we went over to Lee County and Mike Norvell, the head coach of Florida State, flies into Leesburg by helicopter. That was a cheap sightseeing helicopter compared to what Kirby Smart's flying in.
Yeah, that is FSU. So
there you go, Tim Neesmith. That was a shot at over your bow.
That was a shot at you.
So anyway, so that was what he was doing today, taking the helicopter tour. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about in a couple of minutes.
While we're talking about him, real quick, who do you think he was here to see?
That's a great question, because we got some up and coming. He
didn't just come to Lowndes. I will say he did make a stop at Valdosta, landed the helicopter over there, and it kind of is the same color scheme as their ugly school over there, But who do you think he was here to see? Seriously,
I don't know for sure. I personally, we've got an up and coming offensive lineman that he's not big, but he's like 6'5", 6'7", something like that, and he's like 230 pounds, and he's got the frame to put on another 50 to 60 pounds easily. And I bring that up is because I remember a few years ago, I cannot remember the young man's name, but we had another offensive lineman that was almost the exact same size. He was a little bit thicker, but he was tall, but wasn't a typical 300-pound offensive lineman, but he was snatched up by FSU because he had the metrics. He had the frame. He was 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", something like that. And college coaches see that because once they get them plugged into their nutrition program, they can easily put 60 to 70 pounds on.
College coaches are really good at putting the weight on. They would rather put the weight on than take the weight off in a lot of cases, just because a lot of times they can do that through working out and just adding muscle. And they would much rather have 50 pounds of muscle than 50 pounds of fat. So I just didn't know if you had any ideas of who you might think he was.
I don't. I intended to find that out, but it's just the day got away from me last couple of days. Just been super busy. That will be decided on the field. Could be. Now, it's going to be interesting to some Wilbur's talking about quarterback position, that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll dive into that topic on next week's show, because I do expect a quarterback battle, not just at Georgia, but at Lowndes as well. And so we'll see how that plays out. But Billy, I want to pick your brain. Maybe we'll dive into this a little bit deeper next week. But this is kind of a deep topic, so I don't know if you want to get into this. But I asked you this before the show, and that's several years ago, we all, when Nick Saban's in his heyday, he's going in his glory ride for like the 20th straight national championship, that kind of stuff. He talked about the process, his process, and it kind of made that word famous when it comes to football, right? And that word has trickled down to the high school level.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw someone from the Touchdown Club posted a video, I think earlier today or yesterday, where Jamie DuBose was in the locker room talking to his players about trust the process. So he's talking to them about that. And then I don't know if it's by coincidence or what, but a buddy of mine sent me a YouTube link to Justin Rogers, the new head coach for Thomas County Central. And on the video, it's a Touchdown Club meet and greet to meet the new coach. And he's talking about he's got to get his players and his community, his Touchdown Club, to trust the process. And so he actually does something that I don't hear very many coaches do when it comes to talking about process. Justin Rogers goes on to define what he means by process. And so I guess what we might save this topic for next week's show.
Yeah, let's save it because, you and I, we had a long discussion about it, when you asked me about it earlier this afternoon, about what I thought about it.
Right.
And it's not new. We'll just say it's not new. It's just the way we're defining it.
Right.
It goes back kind of to when you and I talking at the first of the year, the difference between a football team and a football program. When you start talking about a program, you're going to have a process.
Absolutely. So some coaches, some coaches throw that out there because it's the latest coaching buzzword to use. Yeah. It gets a community excited because they all heard of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart talking about the process. So they think that it's the cool thing to do. Now, other coaches actually mean it, and they have a definition what it means, what process means to them. So I'm going to, next time I see Jamie DuBose, I'm going to ask him, what does he mean by process?
Yeah, maybe that's, because my idea of it and your idea of it may be completely different than his, or, maybe he can expand on what his particular process is, because we can all have a process.
Right.
And basically means and methods of doing things. And my means and methods could be completely different than yours, even though it is a process.
That's right. That's right.
So we'll dive into this a little bit later on another show.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting topic. And guys, we can't wait to hear what your take is on this, because it is getting out there. Tim Neesmith drops this bomb on us. He says, is there any truth of Rush going to, does he mean Benedictine? He just says Benedict.
Maybe he means Benedictine.
Yeah. So Tim, this is the first I've heard of it. So I don't know. I'll check into it. So I've got some contacts over there on the coast. So I'll check into it.
Tim, just do your own research and come back and tell us, because you're a wealth of knowledge.
He is. Not only can he build custom blinds, but he knows, he's usually plugged in and knows what he's talking about.
He does. I think he's an insider.
Probably so. I think he got Coach DuBose like a nice Lowndes sweatshirt, from what I've been told. And so that has plugged him to the inside.
I think he probably played on the 1978 or 80 girls basketball team too at Lowndes. That might be why he's an insider.
Could be. That's kind of acceptable nowadays. So anyway, guys, we'll end the show on that note. Thanks for joining us. As always, it's been super fun hanging out with you guys for a little over an hour tonight. We went a little bit of overtime. I hope that's okay for you, but that's okay, because we started a few minutes late on the show. That was a funny story, because Billy and I meet a few minutes before the show starts, and we go over the agenda, our talking points, that kind of stuff, and then we take each other off the screen. And that's when I usually hit the go live button, and I hit the countdown timer and that kind of stuff. Billy, I was hitting the go live button, but something was wrong with my internet, and it kept saying cannot connect to server. And I'm thinking, oh crud, what in the world is going on tonight? So finally, after the fourth time trying to connect, it finally kicked in. It's like, whew, man, that was a close one.
Well, I kept getting kicked off tonight, so I don't know. That's something you and I need to talk about.
Yep. So guys, so stick around a few minutes after we go off the air, and we'll talk about some of this tech stuff. So guys, you guys have been watching another, I think, episode 57 of Around the Nation. On behalf of Billy Pearson, Chris Buescher couldn't be with us tonight. He had a meeting at the high school. I'm your favorite LG, Larry Godwin. So we'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a great weekend, and go Vikings.
Go Vikings.